Discount Podcast.
Welcome in, you beggars to Discount, the bargain bin gaming podcast hosted by three people so small that if they were a vampire, they'd be played by Jonathan Lipnicki.
Lovely.
I am one of your hosts on the way to Toussaint for a land of carefree indulgence and debauchery. And plugging into player two.
I am sparkling in the sunlight and tanking my career prospects for the next decade. I'm Darren. Hello. And buying the base game, all of its DLC, and then the collective anniversary edition later down the line just because it's slightly more convenient.
I'm the most devious bastard in New York City. It's Gareth.
Hello, yes, and we're back for another fight episode. Yep, if you haven't been here before, what we do is we argue about bargain budget bidget beams. And
My favourite. I love Bidget Beams.
Oh my god, why can't you fucking speak today?
yeah, we argue about those games, but we buy each other a bunch of cheap games based on a topic and duke it out to get the most points, so we win, and we're not the last loser and have to stream for 12 hours, like Keris did last season.
Loser.
Oh, fucking hell.
But before we think about what we're doing in this coming episode for what we've been playing, we'll look back at last time's, open the vault, and see what you guys thought was our best budget bargain bidgy buy game.
You made such an effort.
Yeah, so last time our topic was what, Darren?
It was critically panned.
It was critically planned, yes. So critically panned games, we thought about games that could be anything. We thought about buying E.T. on Atari. We thought about all these sort of ones. But we ended up buying three
critically panned games.
Critically panned games that were relatively good as well. That was the thing. They were all...
We haven't asked Darren.
That's not this yet.
No, okay. But thank
It's
you.
for the vault. They're games that were panned critically.
Yes. Well, I'm glad we're all here. But yeah, critically panned games. We bought Gotham Knights. We bought No Man's Sky. We bought Cyberpunk 2077. Right. Now, we're going to ask you guys, for your own opinion, what do you think is the game that should be in the vault? Which is the best of those three games for you?
I think it's a pretty even toss-up between Cyberpunk and No Man's Sky, depending on what you are more into, but I would err on the side of Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I was going to say gut feeling would be Cyberpunk for me.
You think so?
Yeah.
Not Gotham Knights?
I enjoyed Gotham Knights, but I
No, more like Gotham Shites.
Fight.
More like Botham Bites.
Yes.
Bargain bacon game.
But yeah, so we put out a poll, and we asked all of you listeners, or whoever's on our Instagram and my Instagram, to vote on what you thought was the best game and should be in our vault. Now, we had 25 votes, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is quite a lot, actually.
Good.
Yeah. Very happy with that.
Thank you.
One vote went to Gotham Shites.
Yeah.
So it's not going in the vault. In second place with 7 votes is No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
But the winner is Cyberpunk 2077 with 17 votes or something. It just
Perfectly
ran away.
Respectable. Yeah.
I do think that it probably helps that it recently had the DLC that everyone is loving and is going to be superb. I streamed it the other day. I enjoyed it on the PS4, but part of me wants to put the PS5 upgrade in and potentially buy the DLC and just go all in on it, because it's just so much fun. It's
a good time.
It's bombastic craziness in it. And that's why I also went for a CD Projekt Red opening, because I knew this was going in the vault.
Very good.
I like it. They are... I want to say they're a good studio, but I can't really tell if any game studio is good anymore.
I know. They're doing their best.
They're doing their best. Everybody go, it's not EA though, it's not EA. And you go, yes, but they're laying off all their workers.
Yeah.
You're like, but I don't understand their financial outgoings and ingoings. You're like, yes, but I'm going to complain anyway.
Very accurate, yeah. People love to complain.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't love to complain? I don't. So, should we close the vault and move into actual content for this week?
Let's do it.
Do you want to close the vault, guys? I'll let you close the vault, because you didn't open it last time.
Then why would I close it if it's not open?
Oh, it's open. I opened it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The fact that it made no noise while opening, but a lot of creaking noise while closing would indicate it's a structural issue.
No. The issue is you.
Oh, it's me.
It's your bones that
I push it and the door screams.
No, it's your bones going, ah!
Okay. That does sound like me.
So, yeah, we're going to move on to this week's fight, which is quite an exciting week because I think we all enjoyed the games we got.
Yeah!
But before we do that, we need to think about what the topic was. So what was the topic, Keris?
The topic was vampires.
And what does vampires mean, Darren?
Blood-sucking fucks.
That's actually the best thing we've had from Darren.
Yeah.
They're not pyres, they're vamps. No. That's what we normally get from Darren there. But yeah,
but it's one word I have to try.
So that's it. We're just looking for games that include vampires. We haven't. It doesn't really state how involved it has to be. Just vampires included. Obviously, the more vampires there are, you're probably more likely to win accuracy and stuff like that. But yeah, what is a vampire to you guys? Does it have to be like a cloaked thing, can turn into a bat, or is it just something that drinks blood? Is there anything like specifically go, that's a vampire, that's not a vampire? Or is it just, they call themselves a vampire, so they're a vampire?
To be fair, I don't think that there's much you can really say.
Okay.
Shall we move on? Should we just move on? Whose game came first?
I think the vampire trope is so old and so well embedded in literature and media and everything now that I think if it drinks another human's blood, it counts as a vampire. I don't think it has to be full hog. Normally
cursed with longer life as well, you'd expect. And, the sun, I feel is a big one. It has to be some sort of sun issues with them normally. But, it's sort of up in the air, isn't it?
Yeah. Controversially, I think the only thing, going back to Darren's lovely intro, is what I was going to say, is I would argue that the vampires from Twilight are not vampires. But I digress.
No, that's fair enough. It's a weird one, vampires, but it was quite clear. People will know a vampire when they see a vampire. They may be like, but this is this sort of vampire. Great, it's a vampire. It's a vampire.
Yeah.
So, should we announce what games we bought?
Yes.
Should we do it in the order they arrived?
They arrived. Yeah. Let's do it.
So the first person to receive their game, unsurprisingly, had their game bought by me, I think it was. Who'd have thought that'd be the case?
I know.
Keris, you received your game first. What
did.
game did you receive?
I got Resident Evil fucking 8.
Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know it had that subtitle.
Yeah.
What, 8?
Fucking 8.
Oh, right.
Resident Evil fucking 8.
Yeah.
Yep. Do you want to tell us a bit about Resident Evil 8?
So, if you haven't played Resident Evil 8,
hello, that's me.
You are. I'm going to try and make this as spoiler free as I can. However, I do have to spoil the beginning. So,
is there a Resident Evil?
There is a Resident Evil.
Oh shit!
Actually,
are there 8 of them?
No, not at the beginning.
Okay.
But anyway, it starts off. It's a direct sequel to Resident Evil 7.
That is how numbers work.
But not always.
But you can't trust all
it. You can't trust Resident Evil's numbers.
Resident Evil
6 to 7 is a very big
you can't trust that a sequel is actually a sequel. And but it takes directly after the events that happen in the Baker Mansion. So obviously at the end of 7, there's the big boss fight with Evelyn, and the house is destroyed. And essentially you come back as Ethan Winters. And Ethan Winters and Mia have been kind of put into almost witness protection and have been moved from America to Romania is where it's based. And I don't think that they're ever really specific about the country, but it's
very close to that Transylvania place, really, isn't it, Romania?
Yeah. Well, it was Transylvania.
No, I know.
All those assorted near countries.
So it's never specific, but it is based in Romania, and it is very specifically Eastern Europe. At that time, basically, Ethan and Mia get treatment from Umbrella for the mold that they have.
And Umbrella are a trustworthy company.
Yes.
They are.
And in the meantime, they make a baby, and they have a baby.
Oh, it is fucking 8.
Yeah, it is fucking 8.
Right, yeah.
They make a baby called Rosemary. They seem to be living a pretty happy life. However, Mia is still not quite right after everything that had happened.
She looks more normal now.
She looks.
How's her hair?
They've sorted her hair and teeth out.
Cool. No, the hair is still. It's Capcom hair.
The hair is still Capcom.
But the teeth are more normal. They're not little bean teeth anymore.
He's been to a dentist.
Essentially, they're just raising their baby. Everything is fine, and then randomly in the middle of dinner, Mia gets shot. and
Happens.
She gets shot by Chris Redfield, who immediately then
Punches a boulder.
appears to kidnap Rosemary. And from that point, Ethan goes on a mission to find his baby and ends up in this random Romanian village because the place where he was kidnapped, because Ethan was also taken, was ransacked, and he wakes up in this village having the car has crashed, and he's desperately trying to find his baby that has now gone missing, and is trying to figure out why Chris has murdered his wife, essentially. But as he gets to this village, he's kind of met with these horrific werewolf creatures. There's a whole completely different enemy base in this. And he finds that the village is run by these 4 lords, which, if you are a literature buff like myself, they represent like 4 different types of monster and gothic literature, which is incredible. So you've got Lady D, who's a vampire.
Oh shit, the topic.
Oh yeah.
You've got
Big Mommy.
Yeah, Big Mommy, yes. You've got Bienvenido, who is kind of more of a ghosts and spirits.
Ooh, spooky.
Moreau is, well, you probably recognise the name Moreau if you read gothic literature, but he's like a swamp creature, kind of creature with the Black Lagoon vibes. And then you've got Heisenberg, which is more
who makes
of a,
meth.
like, Frankenstein type thing. And essentially he has to go and fight the 4 lords to get his daughter back. And it gives you all the origins of what happened in 7. The stories. Let me tell you that much. It's a fucking story
it's
now.
one of them, their Resident Evils.
Yeah. And it is very, very good.
Nice. I think that's the most in-depth you've ever done. It's almost like you know this game like the back of your hand, Gareth.
It's almost like I've played it 48 times.
Exactly. The second game...
What's up, motherfuckers? My game came second!
It was
like 20 minutes, but I did it.
Yeah, it was good. It was literally the postman just came earlier on one day.
Yeah.
It was. So I received the second game from Darren, and it was Skyrim.
Yeah.
Do I need to explain what Skyrim is?
Yeah.
If for some reason you haven't got to know what the Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim, a game that's been released 2,000 times in different formats, you wake up, because we've been asleep on a little carriage.
You're finally awake.
Hey you're finally awake. And you then go into a village, you're about to be killed, you change your race and gender at will in front of this poor man who's just asked your name.
Then you take an arrow to the knee.
No, you do kneel down because they're about to cut your head off, and then a dragon comes along and breathes motherfucking fire everywhere. Then the people who captured you goes, "Come with me," and then they go, "Oh, actually, I'm a rebel against these cunts. You can come with me." And you go, "I'll make my choice here." You go, "Do I go with the assholes who literally captured me and were going to kill me, or do I go and run with the people who wouldn't capture me?" And you just basically make a decision, and then you go off into this big open world. You find out you are the Dragonborn, you start absorbing dragon souls, you can do shouts, you can do spells, you can build your character however you want to, but if you have played Skyrim before, you will play Skyrim exactly the same each time.
Stealth Archer.
And you will try your best, go, you know what, I'm going to use some magic this time, and then you go back to Stealth Archer, or you go, I'm going to be a punch cat this time, Stealth Archer, or you know what, I'm going to be double-handed weapons, Stealth Archer.
What else is double-handed? A bow, Stealth Archer.
You end up falling into the same thing, but you build up your stats, you go around the world, with the version that Darren got me, which is the complete edition or something like it is. It's like the special edition. Special edition, which was released in 2016. It comes with all 3 of the big DLCs, which is Hearthstone,
Dawnguard, and Dragonborn.
Dawnguard and Dragonborn, those are the other 2. Hearthfire and those are the 3. So one's a house building one, one's going off to find the Dragon Lord, and one's to do with vampires.
But basically, God, the topic.
You got a massive open world to go and explore and do with whatever you want. It's essentially a sandbox. I know it's like meant to be an RPG. I would use Skyrim as a very loose RPG. It's a sandbox for just fucking around.
Yep.
Because you don't really form any attachments to anyone, because the game is so open, the only person you can form attached to is whoever happens to be your follower at the time, because you go, thank you, Lydia, or thank you, Ayla, because let's be honest, those are the only two companions people bring with them, and then you marry one of them when you have to do that quest.
Of course.
That's pretty much it. But yeah, you go around and you make a decision whether you're going to be with the Imperials or the Stormcloaks, and that's the main one. There's a civil war going on. And you fight dragons, and you find werewolves. You do stuff with assassins. You do stuff with thieves. You do stuff with the College of Winterhold. You do magic. The Bard's College very briefly, but not properly.
You help them run a small bonfire. That's about it.
That's about it. After going in there, you go deal with some dighead elves at some point. The Thalma. There's also, you go underground and there's like weird elves there.
All roads lead to Blackreach.
Yeah, there's Dwemer, which I think the Dwemer were dwarves.
They were.
But we never see any dwarves, which is sad. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And you normally find a giant or a mammoth or something like that. Basically, it's an excuse to go off, enjoy it. The music is brilliant. The setting is brilliant. It hasn't really upgraded that much since it was originally released. Back in 2013?
2011.
2011, because it came out on 11/11/11.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a classic for a reason. It's one of those games that I think everyone's going to have in their memory for a long time.
Yeah.
Because it'll be released again.
Yes. Of course it will.
And Darren, you were the last to receive your game because
was.
Karis is a bad person.
I know. What kind of loser sends their game last? Couldn't be me.
I'll be honest, she didn't send her game last. She just
took ages.
It just took ages in the post.
This was me last episode. Where I'm like, it'll just take forever, will it? Good. Yes, I received the lovely Code Vein. I'm going to be perfectly honest. Most of the time in these, I'm able to just rattle off basically what the game's about. This time, I have some of the story up because fuck, this game's mental. Basically, you play as a revenant who are
vampires?
Basically vampires. But
how are they basically vampires?
They exist by eating blood beads.
Oh, fun.
And that's the main sort of thing. Blood beads that grow off these, they're called blood springs, which are big fancy white trees.
Okay, that's cool.
And that's sort of how they are that. And I believe it's if you don't consume it for long enough, or there's something in the air, you turn into something called the Lost, which are like these frenzied,
something in the air
crazy.
tonight, is it?
Yeah, because they all wear masks, and if you don't have a mask on, you turn into the Lost.
Oh, okay.
So I assume it's something in the air, but fuck if the game explains it. But basically, you start off in this prison where you've been put by a provisional government, and you're basically being used to harvest these blood beads, and you break away and you team up with this group of other revenants who are trying to work out basically what the fuck's going on. But your special ability is you do not have what's called a blood code, which basically determines like your prowess and your abilities, but you are able to absorb the blood codes of others.
Okay.
So the first boss you defeat, you touch what's called a vestige, which is like a physical manifestation of their soul, and you acquire their blood code instead of it turning you into a fucking loon.
Okay.
And then there's an experiment when you go back to the base where one of your companions gives you some of his blood, and you acquire his blood code. So that's how it goes from there.
Nice.
And basically it starts off with you trying to work out the source of the blood springs and what's going on with that. And eventually it becomes apparent that you are going with this plot to... someone is trying to revive the Queen, who is this big, powerful revenant who was defeated a long time in the past, and it's revealed that you had something to do with that. And then you try to defeat the 4 successors who are all holding parts of the Queen, and then you meet the bad guy who's trying to revive the Queen, but maybe that was part of his plan all along, and then you meet someone. It's very anime plot. As soon as you think the plot's wrapping up, more plot begins. You're like, oh shit, we're still going, huh?
And the style is quite anime.
It's very anime style. It's basically anime Dark Souls. It plays in a very heavily Souls-like style. I'll get more into...
Is it something I would enjoy?
I think so.
Okay.
I think you would. It has a lot of sort of interesting gameplay mechanics to it, but I'll get to that more when we get into entertainment.
Nice.
But yeah, you're basically just trying to work out what the fuck's happening in the plot for the most part, but you're acquiring all your different blood codes, you're going around these areas, you're trying to defeat the successors, and then the bad guys, and then more bad guys, and then more bad guys. But generally trying to stop everything going to shit.
Yep, that's fair enough.
Yep.
That's fair enough. So yeah, 3 vampire games that it seems like we all had some sort of enjoyment in. Were there any games you were looking at buying but you didn't buy, or you couldn't find, or couldn't work out how to do it? Or was there anything else struggling to find? Any Castlevania game?
Because that was one of them. I did think about
you just can't get a decent one.
I did think about the Lords of Shadow ones, which are the closest option, but they're a bit sort of nothing, and all the other ones are difficult to acquire physically. I did think about Vampire.
I think we all probably thought about Vampire at some point.
Just because it's called Vampire.
Yeah, I thought about that one, but I didn't. I don't know. I've not heard great things about it, so I didn't.
I have a copy of it. It's fine. It's good. They've actually just released a new game. The people there, it's getting great reviews. Actually, so yeah.
Okay.
The only other thing I looked at was Blood Rain, which seemed like it could be sort of interesting one. I thought you, Karis, might be into that one, which unfortunately I wasn't buying for you, so it was hard to work out.
I looked a bit at V Rising and I was like, it doesn't come out and anything. Then we got announced.
It got announced at the State of Play.
State of Play. I was like,
immediately,
because we were watching it and I was like messaging you during it, and then it was like this trailer. I went, "Is this V Rising?" You're like, "What the fuck is V Rising?" And it was like,
and then it was.
V Rising.
Like, it is.
It was just one of those things I'd spotted. I also wanted to potentially look at. I've looked at this game several times. I just haven't pulled the trigger to buy. But I thought Keris would not enjoy it. It was the Darkest Dungeon, the Crimson Court edition with the Ancestral edition, because again, drinking blood. But it just felt it was too expensive for one. It's just really hard to get.
Poor fit sometimes.
And I think there was another game that I spent a little while looking at. I did think about getting the Witcher 3 full collection, so you did have to do like the vampire section, but it just felt like a unlikely win. And also there's no Vampire the Masquerade and all that. I
looked at that, but that's hard to get.
They're hard to get hold of. You get the new ones like Blood Song and other things, but they aren't, or Swan Song or whatever it is, but they just haven't got as good of reviews, and I thought it's not really worth jumping in on. But yeah, that's vampire games. A lot fewer vampire games than I thought there were.
I know.
Yeah. It feels like
weirdly niche.
It's a genre that's slowly falling out, but like there's a million zombie games.
Yeah.
You know, so you take the good with the bad.
I think zombies are easier to make like a base villain.
Yeah.
Whereas vampires often have to be tied more heavily into the story.
That's it. I did think briefly about Diablo as well, I would say, because there are vampiric creatures in there, but it just felt too loose again. Anyway, should we go and look into fighting for points now to see who is the champion of the vampire game?
Yes! Let's do a fight.
Round 1, fight! Absolutely fucking nailed that.
Hell yeah.
So if you haven't been here before, what we now do is we fight over the games we bought for each other, trying to get up to a total of 4 points. The first 3 rounds go to the person who bought the game. The final round goes to the person who played the game. The first 3 rounds are most accurate, value for money, and then most entertaining, and then the one that you can win for yourself is player of the game. Basically, we all argue, then we all vote, and the person with the most votes gets the point. And basically, whoever gets the most points at the end of the episode wins the episode.
It's all very exciting.
And it's very simple and easy to follow. Yes. So we will start with most accurate. So who bought the most accurate vampire game is the question. Anyone want to go first and say, no, it wasn't mine, or yes, it was mine?
I'd like to make an argument for mine, if that's okay.
What, the one you bought or the one that you played?
The one that I played, actually. Just because I know that obviously vampires are not the central point of Resident Evil 8. However, I would say that the Lady D section, which is in the castle, it is so very, very typically vampiric, there we are, in nature, and it's so heavily leans on and has so many different Easter eggs with like actual proper Gothic literature vampires that it is a really, really accurate representation of what I think a typical vampire should be. And Lady D's not the only one as well. So obviously she's got the 3 daughters, which they're called witches, actually, by a lot of people who play the game, but they're not. They are vampires. They do cannibalize and drink blood.
And they also don't do well with sunlight.
No, they don't at all. They're very, very typically vampires. And there are also a lot of vampiric. Why do I keep saying vampiric?
Imagine a vampire.
A vampire.
How fucking great would that be? Only sail the seas at night, though.
It's harder to get around. I mean, you have to use the stars anyway, so it's fine.
To be fair, they sailed a lot in the night in Pirates of the Caribbean, didn't they? Because they had a problem. So.
No, they didn't at night, because night's what made them into the skull and bones.
That's just when they had fun.
That's a pirate game.
Yeah. Yes.
Anywho, there are a lot of vampiric creatures that you fight in the actual castle as well. Like there's these big kind of bat-like creatures. There's the literal vampires downstairs in the dungeons that you have to fight.
So they're like thralls, aren't they? Like the ones that are like...
Yeah, all of the villains all of the things that you have to fight in that castle are in some way vampiric. It just so happens that the 4 kind of main baddies in that castle are typical vampires, and the others are kind of offshoots of vampires or kinds of vampires.
That's cool.
So I would argue it was, if not accurate all the way through, accurate for a large part of the game.
I mean, that's the thing as well. It's a portion of the game as well. It takes up maybe a quarter of the game is focused solely on vampires.
And those vampire creatures, they do come back and forth. So,
fair enough.
Yeah.
Skyrim. So Skyrim, the vampire sort of section. There are vampires mentioned in the base game. So when you first get it, you do is the odd vampire sort of mentioned, but you don't, and you interact with like the odd one that shows up.
There's a few like of the little cave mini dungeon things that are populated by vampires,
but they're like real like. Let's be honest, the vampires in... I'm going to say this now. The vampires in Skyrim are just wizards.
Yep.
They are just
They're
wizards.
just diseased wizards.
This diseased wizard, that's it. But you do have the ability in the Dawnguard expansion to go off and become a vampire and do all of that area, which isn't as big as I remember it being. It's smaller than the Dragonborn DLC size, but you do have the ability to have ongoing effects coming back.
I think there's a lot more like feature-wise it's introduced, but a lot less scale.
Yeah, it's
because dragons.
The way I look at it is it's basically the companion quest line, which is the werewolf one, but the vampire, the opposite. I have played that. I've done that once just to play it. I didn't actually enjoy it as a DLC, and that's my thing. Like, I don't think it added enough to it. I think the Dragonborn one gave a lot more content that I enjoyed, and the Hearthstone was fun to build a house, but it was a bit nothing.
Yeah.
But I do like the fact you have other abilities, and you do have the ability to become a vampire in it, where you do consume people like the werewolf consume to continue with your like bloodlust and stuff. And people hate vampires in this game, and it just boosts up your bounty and you go mental. So you do have the ability to become a vampire, but it is really like this offhanded. And it's such a small section of the game, and it sounds bad, it's a small section of the game, but it is because the game is fucking huge when you spend your time. But there is no doubt there are vampires in this game. You can become a vampire. You can get cured of being a vampire. But if you're a vampire, people don't like you. That's pretty much it, which is right. And when you're a vampire, it is the most vampire bit of the game, because the rest of the time they are just diseased wizards. So that's what I would say.
They can give you, I think, vampirism, but all it basically does is mean you get hurt if you go in the sun.
That's it.
It's nothing else to it.
You don't die from it. It's literally just like, you just take a little bit of damage.
Yeah,
and
the sun hurts.
Yeah, it's minor.
They just make you ginger, really.
That's it.
Yeah.
Very low melanin in the skin. That's all it is.
Okay, Code Vein. Code Vein is very like vampire by any other name.
Yeah.
They're called revenants. They drink blood. I think that's more of a side effect of the theming.
Okay.
They're like, it's sort of not super relevant.
Right.
There's not like, oh, you have to consume blood beads regularly or you'll go mental.
Yeah.
And there's no like big focus on it. It's just that they focused everything around blood codes and blood arts and things like that.
Yeah.
That it just felt like the logical end to that.
That they then make it so you do that way. Okay.
Yeah, but it's never really like a big thing. It's my only comment against it.
Right, it's not like they're reviled or anything like that.
No, they're basically like the main people. They're the main form of humanity, are these revenants who drink blood beads from these fucking blood springs or whatever. But it's never like a big point.
Right,
it feels like a character decision that was made, which is interesting and some nice world building.
It's so the blood in this one isn't, and this is not me trying to not say no to Code Vein or anything like that. It's just like the blood in this isn't consumed directly from people either.
It's these beads that grow on trees.
So because that sort of in my mind means it's not really a vampire. It's got vampiric natures or vampiric natures if you prefer.
Yeah.
And
fuck off.
Vampiric natures.
How many mistakes have you made in words in the last hour? So many.
Yeah, exactly. And I then pick up on them and make a joke. It's fine.
But yeah, this feels like it's not from people. inclined to maybe think that a whole aspect of when they become the Lost and they frenzy, as it's called.
Yeah.
Perhaps the reason they attack people is to get blood directly from people. I don't know if that is a thing. But it's never like explicitly.
So you're creating your own law to justify it. Yeah.
But it's sort of, it feels like they're not there intended to be like, oh, it's cool, they're vampires or whatever. Like when you Google search, are the Revenants in Code Vein vampires? There's a lot of like,
sort of.
They have some qualities. They drink blood from these
do they
beings.
Do they go out in the sun?
Perfectly fine in the sun, yep.
Right, okay.
Which is a struggle.
I feel like they're not vampires. They've got those vampiric qualities, but they're not quite where you want them to
vampire aligned.
Adjacent, that's what they are.
They're vampires as a result of the world building, but they're not explicitly vampires to be vampires. It's just the blood theming has crossed over into them having certain vampiric qualities.
So the question is now: is it Skyrim or is it Resident Evil? I gotta be honest. I think Resident Evil is more vampire just because the amount it takes.
Yeah.
And as Keris has said, it is so much of a nod to vampiric history, like how it's sort of created. It's, to be honest, the only reason I bought this game is because I knew how intense the vampires are.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like, and I'm not saying Skyrim was sort of like, it's got vampires in it.
Like my only comment towards Skyrim would have been that it feels like it's more of a mechanic.
Yeah.
Like you have this big chunk of the game where it's all based on this like vampires and vampire literature and things like that build into it. But it's basically like there are the vampires.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to worry about being turned into a vampire or things like that.
No,
it's
I get that.
the set dressing of the section, whereas in Skyrim it is a mechanic. You can become a vampire, you can be infected with vampirism and sort of thing. But I do also agree that due to everything it's drawing on and the care that's put into it, if you said which of these is a vampire game, I lean towards Resi just because it has
and
that.
That's it. It's not to say that Skyrim isn't, because Skyrim clearly has vampires in it, and as you said, it's got the mechanics for it. It's just, but you can't really say, oh, it's the set dressing, because it doesn't say it's not vampire playing as a vampire, is it? It's vampires, and I'd say you look at that and go vampire. Whilst you go that, is it a vampire? So, so a point to Resi?
I think so.
Point to Josh for the first one. I don't feel good about the rest of this episode, but I feel good to get 1 point. So we've now got to move on to value for money. Should we do it in the order they arrived in?
Let's do it.
So the first one to arrive was Resident Evil Village.
Yep.
It cost me £14.
Yep.
Which is very expensive. I think it might be one of the most expensive games we've bought.
Unlikely. I think we've got a fair chunk over 15.
Yeah, we've got a couple, but it's
10 to 15 used to be our like niche.
Yeah.
And we've tried to air
lower
cheaper than that. But 14's fine.
14's fine, until you see how long it takes.
Yeah.
Main story, 9.5 hours. Main and sides, 12.5 hours. Completionist, 37 hours. All styles, 12.
Yeah.
For £14.
That's not great.
Not great, but I mean, you get a lot of good fun out of it, but it doesn't add to the value.
I will say something, though, for it.
I think it's longer than 37 hours.
I was going to say, 37 is very short, considering that if you want to platinum Resi 8, and I have, I'm going to brag about it because it's one of the only ones I have, you have to complete the mercenaries mode as well, and that shit takes forever. Whoever decided that they were going to put that on the fucking trophy list for the platinum is the fucking devil.
Yeah, but what if you're good at it, though?
I mean, I did it. I was good at it. But, So, and that took me ages. I think when I was platinum in it, I think I racked up, this actually is kind of showing how bad I was at mercenaries at one point. But I think I racked up about 72 hours on it.
So maybe it's not fully accurate. Maybe it's just for it's a guesstimate.
What's the thing down the bottom where it's like highest estimate for completionist, and someone who's just like, I spent forever on this.
Yeah.
Where does that go there? Average, medium, rush, leisure. Is that the one we're looking for?
There's normally one that's like highest for leisure or highest for completionist.
Yeah, so I've got completionist, highest at leisure, 60 hours, 5 minutes.
Yeah. So. Mercenaries takes forever because you can't afford to make any mistakes in it at all.
Just get good.
But it is the main story is it's very short, but the actual, if you want to be completionist about it takes a for a
a long time.
Yeah.
So Skyrim arrived next.
Yeah.
Yep.
How much did you spend on Skyrim?
I spent $9.99.
$9.99.
Yeah.
Main. So this is the special edition, is what I'm looking at as well. Main story 26 hours.
Yep.
Main and sides 114 hours.
Yeah.
Completionist 207 hours. All stars 118 hours.
It's a big game.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is a big game. I mean, completionist leisure they've got down here for 728 hours.
It's an absurd amount of time.
So long. That is so long.
fuck?
And I don't think it's just either.
No.
It doesn't take you that long. I think I actually got the plat when I'm going to do the plat in sub 40 hours.
It's one of those things where Platinum completion and Skyrim completion are in different fucking solar systems.
They really are.
There's like doing everything you think you need to do to get an idea of that game and doing everything in that game.
Which is just incredibly long.
Yeah.
Code Vein. How much do you spend on Code Vein?
I can't remember.
$5.99.
Yep.
Main story 26 hours, so same length as Skyrim. Main and sides 34.5 hours, and then completionist is 61 hours. Do you have a look at leisure for completionist
for
in
it.
this? 122 hours and 56 minutes. Probably due to some grinding in that game.
Platinum took me 70.
70 hours for the platinum. That's yes. It's a long old game that as well.
It is.
And there is no way getting round that grind either. So you
There
want
is
to get
not.
that 70. So let's be honest. Resident Evil 8 might be out of the running here.
I feel,
So it's between Skyrim and Code Vein. So Code Vein was what, £6, and it was £10 for Skyrim.
Yeah.
It's difference of not quite 50%, but if you're looking at main story, it's the same.
Yeah.
What do you want to look at? All styles? Or do you want to look at mains and sides?
Both.
Mains and sides for Code Vein 34.5 hours, and then Skyrim's 114 hours. Code Vein All Stars is 34 hours and it's 118 years.
Yeah. Like my feeling towards the Code Vein one is that the difference between that mains and sides and that completion is just mindless grinding.
Well, in Code Vein, is it?
There's just shit you have to grind out. You're not getting any benefit out of it. Whereas like Skyrim going between those two, there's at least love put into it. There's random caves and random side quests. There's the Daedric quests. There's the DLCs. There's like shit to be doing.
There's so much to do in Skyrim. It can be overwhelming, and you can also just meander around there. I think the amount of content you can get out of Skyrim can't really be matched by any other games that we've got here. It's just one of those games where you can spend, and people do spend, hundreds and
728 hours.
But like people then mod it, they do everything. You can just spend forever because it is one of those games where you do come across a cave. You thought, oh, I've never actually been in this cave. Yes, it looks the same as every other cave, but it's something different at the end. There's a different note that I haven't seen. So it's so much in there. I just feel like it has to go to Skyrim, even though
I think so. Yeah.
Like
Skyrim is huge. It's just it's huge.
Yeah, it's like I think you could walk away from Code Vein after that. Mains and sides.
Yeah.
I don't think you do that with Skyrim. I think there's too much there.
Yeah.
I mean, the only reason I'm saying it is because Skyrim is one of those games that, like, I think I would like to play it, but it's so big that, like, I can't even really think about playing it without feeling overwhelmed.
The first thing the game does after the tutorial is plops you down on basically the top of a hill and goes, have fun.
Yeah.
Like, are you fucking...
And the tutorial is, if we be honest, a little lacking.
Yeah.
It's like, you go, run round here, run round here, run round here. You pick this up, you're going to fight one man and then a bear, and you're good to go. Yeah. And it's like,
And then it just goes, have fun. You're like, okay.
And it is huge. It is huge. Yeah, it's massive. But it's just, that's the good thing about it. That's the thing that people love about it. It's the thing that if you play it, you love that aspect of it. So, yeah. Cool. So that's a point for Skyrim, point for Resident Evil 8. Yeah. And now we are going to look at most entertaining.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of discussion about these ones. You know what? I would like to hear Darren go first. More from my perspective, because I know Skyrim, I know Resident Evil 8, Keris knows Resident Evil 8, and a little bit of Skyrim. Darren knows Skyrim, and you've seen Resident Evil 8.
I'm like aware of it.
Yeah.
But Code Vein is almost like this anomaly to the other ones of us. So I just want to know if it's good, because I'm shocked that you platinumed it. Like that's a
my
good
first
sign.
platinum in this podcast since week 8 of the first season.
That's insane. Was that platinum in a day, that one?
No. I platinumed Axiom Verge just because I'd basically already done it. So I was like, why not?
Yeah, okay.
I played a little bit of this forever ago, just because it was on the PS Plus catalog, and I thought this looks cool, and I played it, and
it's no longer on the PS Plus catalog by the time this comes out.
By the time this comes out, it will not be on the catalog. That is correct. And I was kind of into it. I'm like, this is okay. I mean, technically, it was a monthly game as well. So if you claimed it monthly, it will still be.
That's cool.
If you didn't, no. I played a bit of it, and I thought it was whatever. I thought it was fine. And then I came back into it for this, and I played it, and I played it, and I played it, I think, non-stop for 2 weeks, because this game's fucking great. It's got a different style of Souls-like to what I'm used to. It feels like it wants to be parry-based, but the parry is so fucking difficult that it's dodge/run and attack and hope you win.
Right, okay.
It's got a really sort of hidden stagger mechanic where after 2 or 3 hits, you'll basically disrupt the enemy. So a legitimate way to play this game is you run at them and try to hit them 3 times before they get an attack off.
Right.
So then you stun lock them a bit and you can work
Bash
from
the hell
there.
out of them. Yeah, cool.
It's got a nice little selection of weapons. The leveling and the build creation is different to a lot of them. In a regular Souls-like, you will level up each individual stat.
Yeah.
In this, your level ups are blanket level ups, so it raises everything.
Okay.
And your stats are based on your blood code, and they are all tuned to different gameplay styles.
Right, okay.
So I started off using one called Prometheus, which is sort of a medium build, meant to be used with swords, but can be used with a variety of different things. Yeah. And then I went to Queenslayer, which is more of like a low HP. It's like a glass cannon build.
Right.
And then I went to one which was based for halberds, because that's what I was using, and then went back to Queenslayer.
Cool.
But every code has 8 specific, I believe it's between 4 and 8 unique abilities, which you can then master to put them on other codes.
Okay.
It's like I mastered one that boosts halberd damage on the halberd one, put it on Queenslayer, because that has higher base damage, but then that determines what weapons and armour you can wear from there.
Right, okay.
I think the level design is a bit lacking, to be honest. It's a bit generic. A lot of it is just generic abandoned cityscape.
You find that with quite a few Souls, like, so it's just they care more about maybe the interactions and the level up and the actual creatures that you're fighting.
Yeah,
as well,
but I do think the enemy design is really cool. There's
Right.
a lot of it's generic, like soldier, generic wolf, but then the bosses are quite nicely designed.
Brilliant.
I'll get into one of the boss designs in a minute. But it starts off being a bit nothing. You fight basically a guy who turns into a bigger guy, and then you fight just like a soldier with a staff, and then you start fighting the successors. And the first one is like fucking what's the name? A Vicar Amelia style thing, like a giant wolf thing.
That's fun.
You're like,
That's fun.
Cool. But it's so fun. It's so fluid. It plays really well. It's got a nice mixture of endings. The length of the game's quite nice.
Yeah.
It does have a bit of that anime classic where you keep thinking it's ending and then it keeps going. You're like, okay, we're still.
Are you leaving the Shire, Frodo? Yeah, it's that sort of.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, we're still going, are we? I thought this was the end of the game and there's 5 areas left.
So I know I don't know if you're going to talk about this and play the game, but what happened with your save file?
Oh, I will mention this briefly. I'll mention it again now. Code Vein dumped my entire save file because I got to the final area of the game before the final boss. I died, the game crashed during the quick save that occurs when you died, corrupted my save, and I lost everything.
But the fact you did that and then went back and
I just started playing it again
to get the platinum.
Like, when it happened, I was sat in the living room. I very silently tried to reload my save about 5 times in the cloud. That was busted too. I closed it. I went and cleaned the kitchen for a bit, and then I came back and I hit new game, and I just went
back in.
fucking back. But this has a really nice. It's sort of hard to learn, easy to master sort of thing.
Right, yeah.
Like, it took me 25 hours to get that far.
Not Skyrim, Sekiro style. Yeah,
I lost everything. It took me 12 hours to get back there. Because I just had learned my build, I'd learned how to play, I'd learned dodge timing and not parry timing, because parry timing is fucking impossible in this game.
How's the, so I know, but how is the pathing in this? Because I know some Souls, like, it's not always clear where you need to go. Does this feel quite linear in what you're doing? Like, there are like forking paths, but you know you're going in the right direction, is there?
Yeah, it's got that, I think it's most similar to how a sort of Bloodborne operates.
Right.
Where there's enough of the bonfire equivalent throughout that you're like, oh, I've reached the next bit, and this sort of circles round a bit.
Okay, yeah.
Or like, I found this one. I go through half an area to open up a door at the bottom, which then takes me to the next area, but also back up to the bonfire. It has a little bit of confusion. Early on, there's an area that splits in two, and both directions lead to an area you have to do.
But you make a choice, and you know one side is actually harder than the other.
But also, you don't know that that's the case.
Right.
So I did one, finished it, went back, and like, why isn't the plot continuing? What's happening? And then I went downstairs from the bonfire. I was like, oh, path.
There we are.
I found the other one.
So it sounds like you had a lot of fun with this.
I had a great time. Like, it's really well constructed. It's a lot of fun to play. It's because of the difference in the blood codes, it's really easy to mix up your build as well if you feel like doing something different. Because you have one-handed sword, two-handed sword, halberd, hammer, gun, which is all you need.
Obviously a gun as well.
And the gun is fine.
But you want to be in smashing up close.
The one other thing I'll mention about this, you have a companion the whole time.
Oh, that's
You can
cool.
pick between 6 companions by the end of the game. Each one controls slightly differently and has a different attack style. Of course, you can copy their blood code.
And they play a bit like a summon then, I suppose, in their thing.
Yeah.
But you have to be against regular enemies as well.
And they operate by their blood code. So for a while, I ran with Louis, who was the first one you get, but I was using his blood code.
So you were doing the same thing.
We were doubling up on the same thing. But they can revive you, and you can revive them.
That's cool.
But it's a cooldown that cuts your health.
Right.
So in boss fights, you'll have a lot of like, he's revived me. So now they're going to attack him for a minute while I get my health back up. He'll die, I'll revive him. We have to stay alive until they both restore. So it adds an extra level of strategy.
That's cool, I like that.
But because of that, you can play the whole thing co-op as well.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
Really
Whole game
nice.
co-op, and then you both have that skill, and it operates the same way.
Yeah, I guess
But a lot of fun.
Guess I know what I'll be doing then. I'll be trying to find someone to co-op through the entire game.
I'll fucking play it again. I loved it.
Karis, go on. You've been dying to talk about Resident Evil.
I fucking love this game, man. I don't think it's as good as 7. I will put that out there now. And I know a lot of people, when this first came out, in the same way that people are apprehensive about Resi 9 now, especially because of how this was left off, were a little skeptical, only because we all know, especially with Resident Evil, Capcom have a horrible
Hair engine.
They do.
They do. No, they have a horrible habit of doing a really good game and really, like, everyone really likes it and they get good reviews, and then they fuck it up and they do something completely different with it. Which is what people were afraid they were going to do with this game, because obviously with the 7, it was kind of like a resurgence of the series. And they really brought it back to horror roots, which, you know, if you guys have seen me stream Resident Evil 7, you'll know how fucking scary it is. And with 8, when the trailer came out, everyone was really, really apprehensive because they were like, oh fuck, they've gone right back to action again. And I will say there are parts of it where it does go back to action, and it is not my favourite thing about Resident Evil. However, what they do with this game, what they do is they have a really, really good mix of horror and action. So the reason they went down the action route was because they got complaints that 7 was too scary.
Okay.
So
it's pretty spooky.
7 is a spooky fucking game. It's a good spooky game.
Marguerite.
It's a good spooky game, yeah. The disdain in Josh's face, he fucking hates Marguerite.
I do. I don't think it's the spookiest part, I just don't like her.
Yeah.
So basically they tried to incorporate some spooky with what I can only describe as really, to be honest, campy horror. So like Lady D is fucking campy, like Heisenberg's fucking campy. Donna Bienvenito's house is genuinely fucking shit scary. And
it feels much more 7-y though.
Yeah, it may be one of the scariest sequences in the entire franchise, that first bit. It's absolutely great as a game.
Not with the baby chasing you.
What?
What about, is that
Well, that's the bit I'm on about. It's fucking shit scary. But it introduces a lot of really good lore. The story is, as I said, it's a fucking Resident Evil story. It almost kind of leans towards anime story because it's so fucking outrageous. But it's that's what's so fun about it, is that it's scary, but it is like, this is fucking ludicrous. Like how is this happening? Why is
Ludicrous
this happening?
Redfield.
Ludicrous Redfield.
Good. Very good.
I think what is entertaining about it is that it is just a horrendous amount of fun. And the only thing I will say is that I don't fully believe that it has the replayability of 7.
Okay.
But
I mean, we're talking about. It's weird. You've done this, and this is not. You've compared it the whole way through to 7 because obviously you love 7. But as a game on its own, it's still got replayability.
Don't get me wrong. It's got a massive amount of replayability. It's one of those games that you want to go back and do it on different difficulties because even on casual, there are parts of it where you're like, this is fucking tough. Like they kind of, I would say they amped up the difficulty in this, but then the only downside of it is obviously in 7 you've got the madhouse thing, and they
I
don't
would say
do that with this. You just do a straight run of it on Village of Shadows, where the difficulty is really hard. But what I liked about Madhouse was that
It's
it did make
collectibles
it
in different
feel,
locations,
it made it feel like a new version of the game, really, which they didn't do with this. However, I think one of the strongest, most entertaining things about this is, and again, you only really get the full experience of it if you've played 7 before.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say go into this as a first Resident Evil game if you're going to do that.
Go into 6.
Don't go.
It's only up from there.
If you want to play the new ones, play 7 first. Don't fucking play 6.
Play 6, then go back to 1. And have
No,
Look
you'll
up-
just never play the series.
Look
never.
up a pre-consensus ranking of quality and then play that backwards.
But no, it wraps up the story really, really well, and I think that I don't know. I just think that it is good, campy fun. You get drawn into the story. The combat is really nice. I just love everything about it. I just think it's really fucking fun. It's a really fucking fun game.
It's got that advantage of being really. This is why I think it's different with this with Resi 8 compared to like Resi 7. Resi 7, you feel that drop in quality.
Yeah.
This I don't feel has those drop moments.
Yeah.
Like I think each section is really good. Like you've got the village where you're starting off, you're getting your grounds, then you go to the castle. It's fucking peak. It's great stuff. Then you go to the scary house. You're like, fuck me, this is scary. Then you go to the swamp where it's like, oh no, this is quite a sad sort of story here. Like you get brought in. Then you go to Heisenberg's, which is just like, let's beat your fucking ass. And you're like, all right, I'm going to fight my way through this. And then you got your final. But you're like, you expect that sort of peter out. But it's like 9 hours of really good
consistent.
stuff.
And it's actually like really emotional in places as well. Especially if you've played the game before. It wraps up the story in a way that, like, you do get those, like, bits where, and I'm not going to spoil it, but, like, the ending of it is sad. It's really fucking sad. And you think, oh my God, like, this is actually, like, I don't like it. It's very sad and it's very emotional, and it's not an experience I've had with a Resident Evil game before.
That's cool.
There are always emotional moments in a Resident Evil game. They're good at that. They're good
poor
at
Boulder.
Poor Boulder, poor boy. They're good at putting that emotion into the good games anyway.
I don't know. I definitely felt a lot during 6.
Well, yeah.
I felt emotions.
And like, you know, because it's a bit
Anger
like
is emotion.
there's a scene in 7 which is really emotional, but it's that tenfold in 8 because there are so many points where you just think like, number one, how much more can this poor fucking man go through?
It's the nice part of having a follow-up game. You get the compounded investment.
And at one point, I think at the beginning, like something happens and he just literally looks out the window and he's like, why does everybody die around me? And it's like, fuck yeah, actually, you are not having a nice time.
He is the harbinger of death.
He is.
Much like me in Skyrim.
That was good. That was smooth.
I like that.
So, is Skyrim fun? I mean,
It's Skyrim.
It's Skyrim. You get as much out of it as you're willing to put into it. This I would describe as almost a cozy game because it is so vast and you can do whatever the fuck you want. And with the mods, you literally can now. You can become a farmer in Skyrim and do your own fucking shit. It is so much fun when you first fight a dragon. You get a soul. You get the shout. It has the typical Bethesda thing of really cool worlds, really like fun little interactions, really boring main story.
Yep. 100%.
Like, I do not care for the main story. And be honest, I don't really care for any of the characters. They are just living in my world. And that's how you feel in this game, is that I am main character. You are lucky I am not murdering you in the streets, because I could murder this entire village and not blink.
I feel a lot of the way how we described Hogwarts Legacy in the Game of the Year episode. The story exists as a tutorial for the open world.
It is. I mean, I know I said something. I said to you, Karis, like, you're comparing it to 7, but if you compare this to Oblivion, this is lacking in certain areas. I think the towns and the cities are a bit devoid of life.
Yeah.
Which I wish there was just a bit more built up in there, a bit more like actual people in there, because it feels like, oh, we have 3 people in this town. You're like, okay, and I'm meant to care about this town, why? And that's something that I miss in it. But I genuinely think the world is so fun to just run around and just interact with things, and I'm going to go do this. The Dark Brotherhood style of stuff, I love the Dark Brotherhood quest. The Thieves Guild, I love that, apart from when you have to do the stupid fucking...
The end stuff
for it, which is just a grind.
Takes fucking forever.
The companion story is so short. It's like 3 quests, and it's a bit boring, but it's okay. Like, there are things in there that you go, I will replay that bit every time. Like, I will always do the Thieves Guild.
I will always do the college.
Oh, will
the college was really good.
Yeah, I think they've got some good ones. But then there's like bits in there you touch the fucking beacon. It's like, the beacon has been activated. Like, oh god damn, why did I touch this fucking thing?
Yeah.
I guess I better deal with this now just to get rid of it.
There's the other side of that where you walk into the abandoned house in Markarth, and there's a voice in your head that goes, kill him.
And you're like,
yeah, okay.
Okay, I will do. And it is funny, like it is that sort of, I can literally do anything that I want to. I think there was recently, it may not have been on this game, but it's the sort of game where someone will go, right, on this playthrough, I'm going to kill every single person, and I'm going to drag them back to the house I've built, and they're going to just stay in my house.
Yeah.
Every day person. And people will do this.
Yep.
And it's whatever you want to make out of it. It's funny, we talk about like Zelda as a make your own fun game, but I don't think Skyrim is all that far from it. There's a lot more story, and you can have a lot more driven purposes, and there is no way that I just wander about. I always have a million quest markers up on my map, but you get as much out of this as you're willing to put into it. When you bought this for me, I'll put it this way, when you bought it for this time, I didn't want to put it back in. I was like, I feel like I've done enough in Skyrim to not want to go back now. But that's not because I've only put in like 10 hours. I've put in hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. It's a tough one. I don't know.
A game doesn't get remade that many times.
Yeah.
If it's not enjoyable.
Oh, that's it. It's enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's entertaining. But is it a thrill ride? No. It's like the perfect it's a game I will put on and I will switch off, and I'll have some TV running, or I'll be like listening to a book, and I'm going like, yes, this person did that. And I'm like, yeah, fucking kill this guy. I have to put no thought into this game. It's lovely. It's just going back in when you're in the right mood. It's like putting on a fucking like warm jacket or a blanket. You just feel warm, cozy. That's all I would describe it as. It's a cozy game for sadists.
Like, I'm really excited to stream this.
Oh, it'll be great.
Just to jump in and play it for a couple hours and be like, yeah, fucking Skyrim.
I think that's a really interesting way to look at it. But it'll be a fun stream because you also have people in the chat who go, I'll go do this. You go, yeah, I'll fucking do this. It's just to play it in a different way where you're not in charge.
It spawns me in and I go, someone pick a direction. Because
I know
I start walking that way.
That's the issue. I know full well I'll go back in, I'll become a fucking stealth archer again. And I feel like I've done as much as I can do with this. I need to play it in a different way, and I just don't have the headspace to switch up my style. But again, another great game.
Yeah.
Another great game.
All 3 great games. So, which is the most entertaining? What a fucking tough choice this is.
Yeah.
Because they are all entertaining, but for different reasons. Now, Skyrim, great cozy game. You can put hundreds of hours in it. At no point am I going to say it's going to be a fucking thrill ride for you. They're almost like this. So Skyrim, I think is let's put it this way: Skyrim is friends. You stick it on the background.
Yeah.
You enjoy it. It's nice because it's comforting. You remember what it is.
Yeah.
You're like, your Resident Evil is probably, you've just watched the first season of The Last of Us. Was that there? You're probably going to binge it. It was a fucking thrill ride when you were in there. You enjoyed it. And then for some reason, you've got a month on Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're like, I will binge everything on here for a month. And it's just like, what is...
It's really strange, isn't it? Because it's like,
They're
so different.
Yeah.
And they're going to hit different people different as well. So, like, my thing is that as somebody who isn't as invested in gaming as you guys, like, this game was so entertaining to me that it is one of the few platinums I've got. It was one of the ones where I was like, fuck it, yeah, I'll grind my way through even the bits that I didn't particularly enjoy. Like, the mercenaries was probably the worst part, and I was fucking addicted to it. So for someone like myself who isn't massively invested, and I do get a little bit overwhelmed by massive games like Skyrim, and I do get a little bit like overwhelmed by like JRPGs and that sort of thing, it's entertaining for me because it felt like not only was it really entertaining enough to make me want to stick around, which is a big thing, but also it was really accessible for somebody who doesn't game as much as you guys do.
I mean, I think we've all bought good games for the person that we bought them for. It's been a really well-weighted one. Do I think is I might even argue for Code Vein on this one because it was a surprising turn of events.
So I was going to say something similar. I was also going to vote for Code Vein because I think I had the best time this time around.
Yeah.
Like, you, as much as you both love your games, you have played them, you have experienced them, you have a deeper love for them.
Yeah.
I picked this up after not caring for the first 10 hour the first time I played it, and I played 70 hours pretty flat out.
Yeah.
I mean,
Even when it killed my fucking save, and I played it again.
The reason why I would vote for Code Vein is because I think, as much as I love Resi 8, I think had I gone through it the first time and had gone, right, I've just deleted your entire fucking save, I think it would have taken me fucking months to go back to that game because I'd just be like, what, nah. But you
literally 2 hours later
to literally jump straight back in.
It's not even that. It's when I said, you went co-op, I went, I better get in there and find someone. You went, I'll do that again.
I'll play it again.
It screams that this time round, that is the most entertaining game of what we have played.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people go, what the fuck, Code Vein, the most entertaining of those three? I go, we're not saying it's the best game.
Yeah, we're saying this time round. I think that's a good way to do it. This time around,
that was the most fun.
I had the best time with it.
Yeah. There we
Code
are.
Vein then.
Cool. One apiece.
One apiece. Now we need to move on to play of the games, which is what we're trying to fight. And we are literally trying to fight for the episode now with our plays of the games. So we have to try and sell a really good story, a really good moment. And if anyone has one locked, ready to go, please do. Because
I'll start out. So I had two in contention. One was going to be the fact that it killed my save and I got back there in half the time. Because I felt like I understood the game this time around. Partly I knew where I was going, but also like I get to a boss and I go, okay, I know what I'm doing this time. I know dodge timings, I know the best attacks and the best throwings. What I'm instead going to talk about is when I thought Code Vein was not being anime enough and then it became really anime. So, in terms of character design, Code Vein has like the standard, all the male characters are overdressed and all the female characters are underdressed. That's just classic whatever.
It is.
That is what it is. But in terms of like the world and the other designs, I'm like, this is being pretty reserved. It's all like very post-apocalyptic, very sort of armor heavy. It felt very within its vibe. And even the boss designs where they have air to get a bit more absurd and a bit more extreme. Big dudes in armor. The one sort of female boss I'd fought wasn't like overdressed, but wasn't underdressed. It's just sort of sexualized, but not actively. I'm like, whatever. And then you fight the successors, and the first one is a big wolf, and the second one's a big dude in armor. And I'm like, we're doing quite fucking well here, Code Vein. Well done. I get to the third successor, and I walk in. I'm like, okay, so it's just going to be like, we're in sort of a fire area. It's probably just going to be something like lava based, like a big monster or a big like fucking soldier, whatever. This boss is a hypersexualized cat robot. Like Catwoman robot who fights permanently with her fucking ass in the air, running around with swords in her mouth.
Oh my god!
And as I was I'm like, we're doing quite fucking well at Code Vein. And the boss turned, I went,
no, we're not.
Oh, you, Code Vein. It immediately made me think of, do you know how they pose Anne in Persona 5?
Yeah,
very similar.
Is it the successor of the Claw?
Yes.
I will just have a quick check to see what that looks like and go, well, fuck me.
It's very much tits and ass cat android with swords.
Cat android.
And I'm like, I see.
Yeah, it's pretty much tits and...
Fucking hell!
Yeah.
That is just tits!
Yeah. So when up to that point, I'm like,
Oh my god!
like, Code Vein, you're doing quite well here.
Shit.
Like, one of your companions is basically wearing, like, lingerie and a trench coat.
Right.
But that's just anime.
Yeah,
That's just what it is. I saw that and I went, yeah. I picked the female main character who has basically, like, short shorts under her armour. I'm like, cool. Whatever. This is just anime being anime. And then the fucking titty cat robot. And I'm like,
There we are.
there you are, Code Vein. I knew you'd been holding out on me. Good shit.
fucking hell.
And then I had to grind for the 400 medals for the platinum. And that's the final boss of that grind. So I saw that titty cat robot like 1,000 more times. I'm like, cool. Hello, you.
Nice.
Fight you again, shall we?
Almost close to embarrassing games for just
I know.
a titty cat robot.
The titty cat robot.
Go on, Karis.
Oh, so mine's just me being an asshole. I was just being really cocky.
To be fair, the cat robot didn't have that.
That's quite shocking, actually.
I know.
It was a charging pole.
Is it seen as, you know, if she's got her ass in the air the entire time you're fighting, you would think there would be an asshole.
If this was visual, I'd do the stance, but you
Yeah.
know it from Persona 5. It's like one hand on the ground,
Yeah.
arched back, ass in the air, but a
Yeah.
cat robot.
Nice.
We might get a picture for the podcast. We don't know
Yeah.
for the Instagram.
Ignore my intro and just draw me as that.
That's it. Perfect.
So, yeah, this actually did happen this time around when I was playing it for the podcast, and I was just being an asshole because obviously I've played it a million times, right? So now and again in Resi 8, it glitches, right? And I was on the receiving end of 2 glitches at once. So there's a part in Resi 8, obviously, where Lady D is a stalker, right? She has to kind of follow you around the rooms and stuff. It gets triggered. And there's a sequence where you're in the kind of main hall and she comes through the door, and I was basically playing chicken with her at one point. And I'm walking out and I can hear, because you can hear her footsteps, right? And it builds a lot of tension because you're like, oh fuck, if you can hear the footsteps, you've got to find a safe room real quick because she's going to fucking be on you, right?
Oh no, she might step on me.
And, oh no, don't step on me, big titty mommy, please. But
She'd be
no.
a good Code Vein boss.
Yes.
Yeah, she would. She would. Would she have an arsehole?
Put some cat ears on her.
But anyway, so I could hear the footsteps and I couldn't see her, so I was fucking shitting myself. So I went in the safe room. I opened the safe room door and I come out a little bit and I noticed that the game's glitched and she's walking full pelt at the wall.
Nice.
Right? So I'm like, fucking A, I can just fucking, you know, just fucking shoot her and see what happens, right? So I take a nice clear headshot at her. She fucking snaps her head around and sees me. I fucking shit my pants because she starts full pelt walking towards me, saying all this fucking, you know, Ethan Winters fucking, you know. And so I'm fucking.
I didn't know she was from the valley.
Shut up, right? So I
Yes, the
fucking
Romanian valleys.
I fucking pelted back to the safe room. And because I'm being a dick and I know she can't get me in the safe room, right, I'm just stood behind the door being like, fucking come and get me. It fucking glitches again, right? So she fucking puts her fucking big clawy hand up and manages to fucking kill me in the safe room because the claws go through the fucking door. So I'm sat there going like, hey lady, you can't fucking get me, I'm in the safe room. And she fucking catches me through the door. So not only have she walked into the wall and made me shit myself because I swear to God, she fucking made eye contact with me through the fucking screen, right? She fucking snaps her head round. I'm being cocky as shit and she still manages to fucking kill me in a room where she shouldn't be able to fucking kill me.
Her and that wall were having a nice moment and you just had to interrupt
She
it.
was nose to fucking wall walking into this wall. I had to rescue that woman myself.
You shoot her and she's like, just a second, wall.
She's fucking
Rick.
snapped her head round.
How dare you?
I fucking shit myself. And then the relief of being in that safe room was immediately taken away from me. It was bollocks is what it was.
It sounds it. I mean, it sounds deserved as well, but you know, that's
it was
each their own.
because I was being an arse.
Skyrim. There are so many moments in Skyrim that you could do as a player of the game. I'll think about back to when I first started it, going around as a little level 2 person, just exploring, wondering what the hell that is, seeing a person in the distance, getting closer, seeing the person getting bigger and bigger, then realising it's a giant, not
Yep.
sure what to do, then being catapulted into the sky when he hits me.
Yep.
Lovely
Classic.
moment. Very early on when I bought a horse for the first time, because I'm the only person to buy a horse in
Rather than steal
Skyrim.
it.
Yep. Then climbed up a mountain. It then got stuck, like, horizontal, vertical, and then proceeded to fire straight into the sky as well with me riding the horse.
My planet needs me. Ooh.
Like, the horse then died.
Yeah.
Never got my money back, and I also died.
The story of Icarus.
That's great. It's then flew too close to the sun. Recently, I think I'll talk about one that happened recently, because we all know about Nazim.
Yep.
He's an absolute asshole.
He's the worst.
Oh, don't you suppose you've got to the Cloud District, do you? Yeah, fuck you, you racist twat. He's just a piece of shit. But I obviously offended him in some way. And I was out, and I got attacked by a dragon. And then another dragon came in. I killed these 2 dragons. And then I hear him go, "Hey, you!" I turn around, and there's 3 thugs there going, "We're going to kill you." I'm like, I've just killed 2 fucking dragons.
Yeah.
You've just seen me do it. They go, they hit me. So I kill them. And then I see a note that goes, "You should not have wronged," telling me you should not have wronged Nazim. I was like, what the fuck, Nazim? So I thought about going back and just killing him. Previously, I've done a Wabberjack with him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Instead, I decided to be really weird and petty, and I decided to steal everything from the market and just reverse pickpocket it onto him, thinking, in my head, the guards will arrest him for stealing everything in Whiterun, and he will be to blame for it. I spent a night stealing everything I could just to put it on him. And I was like, why have I done this? It's because of how grand this game is. But yeah, I love Rocket Horse to the Moon.
You've been wronged by a fictional character.
Wronged by a fictional character, and instead of hurting him in any way, I've just given him all the cabbages he could ever want as punishment.
It was very much like, as you said, you play it different ways. You're like, he's wronged me again, and I've already killed him once, so I guess I'll just frame him for theft.
I thought about killing someone and then putting the knife on him, but it's like, doesn't make sense. It's like, it's just in my head, he will get arrested.
Kill someone, break the lock of his house, put them, like, in his house.
It's just like, they'll blame him, and it just doesn't work.
The game's not that. Imagine if that was a thing in Elder Scrolls 6, so you could frame NPCs for murder.
I'm hoping that, like, Baldur's Gate has this level for me, but I loved doing that. It's like finding your own fun, but I went, in my head now, he is a wanted man in Whiterun, and I shall never see him again. Realistically, what I need to do then is to, like, knock him out and just put him in a jail and then just leave him there. But he'll get out. I mean, you have a million things in there in Skyrim, and it's hard to think of just one moment that stands out.
Did you also reverse pickpocket the note onto him?
Yes.
That would have been a good touch, yeah.
Oh, I literally emptied everything onto him.
All your potions, you're saving for a rainy
Anything
day.
that said stolen on it, I just dropped on him. So, like, he had, like, a couple of soul gems he'd never need, a fucking, like, half a fragment of, like, a mammoth tusk and stuff like that. Here, here's a giant's toe for you.
Yeah.
Like, that was it, yeah. So, he probably can't walk.
No.
He's probably well over encumbered, and he's just like...
I bet he won't be making it to the Cloud District anytime soon.
He won't. So yeah, player of the game. Who are we voting for player of the game?
I think I'm going to give it... Oh, God, I don't know. Yours is good, but also... Titty Cat Robot.
I'm in the same debate. I like the pettiness of Nazim.
I was going to say...
It was so petty for no reason. And I love my Rocket Horse one, but I was like, that wasn't anything I did. I was just fun that... I went out... I must have spent 20 minutes doing this.
And you know what? I think, as much as I adore Titty Cat Robot, because I think that's fucking great, I just think the fact that you actually went out of your way to be that fucking petty, I'm going to give it to you.
I think that's fair, yeah.
Brilliant. So that's a point to me.
Yeah.
Woo! That means I win the episode. That puts me on...
Oh, fuck, I wish I knew that before I voted for
That
you.
puts me on 3 points,
Yep.
Darren on 2 points, and Keris on 1 lowly
fuck's
point.
sake.
Have you considered getting good?
We are now just over halfway through
Yep.
the episode games.
It's
as
6
well.
of 11.
6 of 11, so there's a bit of a pullback coming from Keris, I think, in the next
I'm going to
few...
end up streaming for fucking 12 hours again now.
Yep.
Next few
And last time I nearly had a fucking mental breakdown.
episodes. But should we have a little look at what we'll be doing on our next fight episodes? We'll hand over to Darren and the random genre generator.
Okay, I will be fully transparent that we discarded the first suggestion because it's too close to this.
Yeah.
I won't say what it is, but
it was too close.
It was too close to this topic. But what we have instead for our next episode is snow.
Coke for everyone.
We went in very different directions.
A lovely wintry topic for the turn of spring.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. Yeah, getting into the nice bright days, and we'll be talking about. Do you remember those horrible, cold, snowy days? No, because we just had rain.
Yeah.
Lovely Welsh snow.
Yeah.
Lovely Welsh snow.
It threatened to snow at one point.
It did.
But it did not.
It shook his fist at us.
Yeah.
So get off my
It didn't give
lawn.
me the fucking snow day I did.
It hailed for like 2 minutes.
No,
That
I
was the
don't think
closest.
any of us are buying Snow Day for South Park
No.
because it'll be too expensive. But yeah, lots of options.
Lots of options.
Lots of options. I wonder if there's games where you can play as like a snowflake. Because it's like
Life is Strange. Boom.
oh,
Cool.
fucking god. So yes, as always, thank you for being our player fours. Hugely appreciate it. If you do enjoy this, make sure to leave a review or a comment. Hopefully a good one. The better they are, the better they are for us.
Yeah.
And then share it with anyone you know.
Or people you don't know.
If you have listened to this on Spotify or on Google or on Apple, if you wanted a slightly longer version, you can check us out on YouTube, which is where we put all our long versions of our episodes, plus everything that we've streamed on our Twitch channel.
We have a Twitch channel?
We do.
Oh,
and we
wow.
stream there
God.
three times a week.
That's so many.
I know. Mondays and Fridays, we do our Legacy games, which Darren is playing Kingdom Hearts.
Yep.
Keris is playing Resident Evil. I am playing the Souls games. And then on Wednesdays, we do episode games. And then, that's only 3 times, because obviously we only stream these. We're going to talk about 3 games, so it's going to be 3 times. And that is going to be these ones. So do check out our Twitch channel on our YouTube at DiscountPod. And that is also our Instagram.
How many C's?
2 C's.
Hell yeah.
2 C's in those. And yeah, DiscountPod on Instagram. All of our sort of like information about what's coming up, what's going on, pictures of what we've been doing. And you can also catch us on our own individual Instagrams, which is at Discount Darren, Discount Keris, Discount Josh.
Oh my god, those are our names.
And they're about as committed as we each are.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, as always, thank you all for being our player 4, and we will catch you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.